Hi, everyone. Thank you for visiting my channel, Playful Polyglot. First of all, let me say what Playful Polyglot means. Playful is obvious, and polyglot is somebody who speaks many languages. Well, I happen to speak English, Italian, some Spanish, some French, some German, some Portuguese. So I'm a polyglot. And my playfulness comes from I've been doing improv theater for more than 12 years now. And I'm a very avid English enthusiast. And I've come to understand and to experience that the love of learning English constantly only grows in the world. And it doesn't get less, it's just more and more. But the thing about it is that people are learning English not on an advanced level, but they are learning it in an intermediate level. I've studied several languages, and those languages are all like a bottom-up funnel like this. What that means is that in the beginning, these languages are not easy to master or to learn. Like German is pretty complicated. French is not the easiest language to learn. Spanish, with all the irregular verbs, is not easy. But what happens is that when you learn the language, when you learn the alphabet, when you learn the rules of the language, then when you go further and further, just like a funnel, it becomes easier and easier and even easier because you're just simply using the rules that you have learned and you apply them more and more and more and more. And, so in the beginning, it's hard, like, something like German, but then it becomes pretty easy because, you've learned all the rules. English, on the other hand, is a upside down funnel. So it starts pretty wide and it goes narrower and narrower and narrower as you go up. What that means is that English is incredibly easy to begin learning. It's super easy. It's one of the easiest languages that I have learned to start learning. Italian is an extremely easy language to learn, but English is even easier than Italian because in English you don't have conjugation, you don't have tenses, you don't have a lot of things. Of course, you don't have masculine, feminine, you don't have any of these. You don't have articles. It is super easy to learn. Like I go and he goes and that's it. They go, that's not how Spanish works. That's not how Italian works. That's not how German works. That's not how Arabic works. It's all these languages become pretty complicated with conjugation. But what happens is that in English, whatever you learn, you become really super proud of yourself that, okay, I learned these rules and that rule. Well, guess what? That means nothing. Because English language, the only thing that it has that you can be sure of is exceptions. Everything has an exception. It's a language which has 1 million words. It's incredibly rich. The vocabulary in English language is incredibly rich and incredibly sophisticated. That's why, you can have so many different tones in English. You can be, speaking informally or super formally or whatever you want. So, and then I like to play this game with people and say, look, as if English language is not hard enough, then we have things like accents and things like dialects, right? So let's take the British English dialect as opposed to American English dialect. Okay, so if you say something like, I'm mad about my flat, depending on where you're saying that, there are completely different meanings. So if you were to say, I am mad about my flat in the USA, that means I'm angry about my flat tire. Okay? So, but if you were to say that in British English or in England, then you would say, I'm mad about my flat means that I love my apartment. So, as you can see, English is easy to start, is easy to begin, is easy to get to the intermediate level of English, but to master English and to be advanced in English, it's a complicated journey. And so, in the last few days, I started thinking, okay, I have a unique sense of this because I have been studying and learning English for more than 40 years. And not only that, I have a sense of playfulness and I like to puzzle and I like to play with language. And, I've been studying Spanish for the last 4 years, and I don't see any apps or any channels that does this playfully. And I'm an improviser. I like to laugh. I like to make people laugh. So the idea of this channel is to teach you these. This channel is geared for you to, when you're intermediate in English and you want to become better at English and have mastery of English, not, this is another channel for basic learners. This is for a channel that you can actually understand what I'm saying and can play with these ideas. But if you can, then this channel could be quite helpful. And I intend to put a video out every day. And I'm going to play with these ideas. So one of the things that is happening is that New York Times has a game called Connections. And this Connections game, I've studied English for, so it's more than 40 years. And I struggle with this game. Basically, I can do it like 25% of the time. And it's just words. And the idea of Connections, nytimes.com games Connections, I would put a link down below in the description. But the idea is that there's just 4 groups. There's 16 words, and you're supposed to turn, them into 4 groups of 4 based on whatever connection they have, these words they have. And this game is so difficult because English language, it's so complicated. It's so rich and words have so many meanings. So my plan is to do these connection words, at least 4 words or maybe more every day for you. So you come by here and we at least talk about 4 words. That's what I promise to you. And maybe I will talk about other things, like another thing that I love talking about is that, like one of the most powerful and often used words in English language is awkward, right? Awkward is a very common word in English. We use awkward all the time. Okay, well, I live in Guadalajara, Mexico, and I tried to find the word awkward in Spanish. It doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. They call it incómodo, which is not really the same as awkward. Awkward is a feeling, it's an experience. It's very incómodo, seems uncomfortable. Awkward is not uncomfortable. Awkward is this sort of a sense of, it's impossible to actually translate it. It's an experience, right? If you don't know what awkward is and you're watching this video, awkward is like, you told your boss that you're sick, right? And you don't go to work and say, hey, I'm sorry, I can't come to work, I'm sick. Okay, great. So then that same day in the morning, you go to the beach and you're like having fun and having your margarita or whatever, and your boss sees you, catches you, adding, as we say in English, red-handed, which is, this is another thing I will try to do maybe in this channel, is talk about expressions and what they mean. But so then that's like awkward. It's not uncomfortable. You're like, and your boss is like, oh, I thought you were sick. You're like, well, that's awkward, right? So it's not incommode. So, but anyways, I plan to do 4 of these words or maybe more or whatever, but that would be basically the baseline. So today, New York Times had 16 words, and I'm going to play and tell you these words. So one group was broadcast related, and one of them is air. Okay, so yes, guess what? The word air, it not only it means to breathe air, but in English, it also means to air, like an interview, or to air a show. That's also air, right? So when you air something. So, you probably know as an intermediate speaker that air is something you breathe. But guess what? Air has so many different meanings in English. That's why this New York Times connections puzzle is so complicated, because each one of these words have so many difficult meanings and different meanings. So air, also you can say airing your laundry, right? So that's one word, air. The other word is run. Okay, guess what? Run has to do with broadcast. Like this show had a good run, right? But what do you know run? Run is like correr in Spanish, right? Running fast, right? But that's not, you can also run as a president of a country or run as the president of the classroom. So that's also run, right? So that's the word run. Then the word screen. Okay, so like the screen, the word screen is a very complex thing, because screen, screen, the thing about screen is that screen is a verb and a noun, right? You can screen, you have a screen like, where you watch your movie, right? That's a screen, but you can also screen people, right? So like, I'm going to screen my calls. That means that I'm going to filter them. That means that if there's a telemarketer, I'm going to screen them, so not get them. So, screen, here's the word, screen, it means to show, right? That's how it's, there's a screening of this movie. But at the same time, that same screen means the thing that you have on the door to keep things out. That same screen is that to filter things out. So as you see, it's pretty complex. When you see like 16 words and screen is one of them, you have no idea where to go, what direction to go. Then there's show. Okay, show, because show is more, okay, you show something. That's more about showing and airing things and broadcasting. That show is not so away from the center of this idea. But show also means no show, that somebody doesn't show up, right? Then show can have things like show off, like he's such a show off. That means he's always, making it himself look amazing. Show up, show down. It's like, it is so rich, So these are the 4 words. And I'm going to give you a bonus today and talk about 4 other words so these were the grouping of these words that air, run, screen, show were in one group because they were broadcast. Then we have 4 other in another group: bath, card, curtain, and picture. So I'm going to give you a minute. What do you think bath, card, curtain, and picture have in common? Okay. Your minute is up. They're things you draw. Okay. Yes, that's how crazy English is. You draw a bath, right? So when you want to take a bath, another verb you can use is to draw. Okay. Then you can draw a card, like drawing. That's okay. You also draw a curtain, right? So when you open a curtain, close a curtain, you draw a curtain, and then you draw a picture. So draw a card, draw a picture. But also the word draw itself has so many meanings. Like if it's a game is tied, it's a draw, right? But then we have things like withdraw and all that. So, or overdraw, right? Overdraw when your bank account is overdrawn. So draw has so many meanings. So anyways, thank you for listening to me. I hope you come back every day. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video, share, comment what you want to see. But the structure would be, I promise to you, every day you come back here, and I would at least talk about 4 of the words of the connections game in New York Times, connections, and say why. Today was the words were air, run, screen, show, having to do with broadcast, and things you can draw, which is bath, card, curtain, and picture. And so every day, come back here, and we're going to have some fun. We're going to play around. We're going to, see the ridiculousness of English and how it can be funny. Like one last bonus that I give you is that, when you think English, even the grammar is pretty complex because, like you say something like, you think English language grammar won't be that complex, but when you go on a higher level, you can change the sequence of words. So say, had I known my mom was coming, I would have made more dinner, right? So rather than say, if I had known, you say, had I known. So there are other things like that I will play with. Maybe I will talk to you about, as I said, expressions. But the very baseline would be, I would at least talk about 4 or more of the English language words that the connection games is using that day. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon. And please share, comment, like this video, and let me know what you want. Thank you.